Do you sit all day at work? Would you like to know how to set up any chair for the perfect sitting posture to look after your spine and your neck? If so, stick around, this video is for you. So first of all, why is sitting a problem? Well, there's two main reasons. The first one is sitting increases the pressure on your lumbar or your lower back discs. And disc problems are one of the worst back injuries you can have. So how does this happen? Okay, well, if I stand up here, if we look at my back standing, I have a nice curve in my lower back, a forwards curve here. If we look at our spine here, it looks like this. We have a nice curve in that direction. In this position, our discs are at their strongest and they can handle an immense amount of pressure coming down onto them. So we want to maintain as much of this curve when we sit as we can. What happens when we sit though is that as I sit, my pelvis rotates this way, so we have what's called posterior pelvic tilt. Our pelvis rocks back this way and we lose the curve in our lower spine. Now when this happens, this loss of the lordosis here, the amount of pressure our discs can handle drops down dramatically and we can have a lot more disc injuries as a result. Another thing that happens as well is when we lose the lordosis, so when our pelvis rocks underneath to allow us to sit, the upper body ends up coming forwards as a result. And our head and our shoulders end up rounding, and heads are really heavy. So when your head goes forwards, it causes a huge amount of increased workload on our neck muscles and the joints in our neck and the discs up in our neck as well. So what we want to do when we are sitting, we want to try and mimic standing to some degree. You're never going to get it as good, but we want to do our best. So the standard way this is done quite often is using a lumbar support. So what happens with a lumbar support, if I had a towel here, if I was to roll this up and put it in the back here, so what the idea of this is, it's trying to keep more curve into the lower back there, which can be helpful, but it's not the best way and it's not my favorite way of doing it. I am a fan of having some support and sitting back in the chair, but what I prefer to do is actually use a towel like this and put it on the chair at the back, just like this. And then when we sit, we've got our bum. Now what we've achieved here, we've got our bum a little bit higher than our knees, right? Now we're not going to have as much curve as when we stand, obviously, but I've now got more curve here, okay? And by the way, I can sit back in the chair as well, that's fine. I can move this back a little for me, right? And it's amazing, this holds me up in the chair quite a lot. So that's quite easy. Now, one way to improve this, now a lot of us have unevenness. We have a little bit of lateral pelvic tilt. That's pretty common. Some people have one leg a little longer than the other as a result. So some people, it's useful to try and balance that when we sit as well. So this is the next level with this, right? Now, what we can do for that is we can get a little tea towel. Now, this is literally 3 layers of tea towel that I've got here. It's not a huge amount. We don't want to do too much here. And I'm going to put it on one side. So when I sit back in my chair here, I can notice, okay, is it leaning me to the side? And in this instance, actually, I do feel like I'm tipping that way. So this is wrong for me, right? Now what I'm going to try it again on the other side. All right, we go here and we try again. Okay, now actually that balances me out. So I obviously have a little bit of lateral pelvic tilt, and that is actually correcting that and holding me up in the chair. Some people will find that you tip both ways. In that instance, you don't need it. Some people will find that you need to get it right, you need to actually reduce it. You might go down to say 2 layers of tea towel. All right, so if I do that there now, yeah, actually that's more comfortable for me. So I probably sit like this, right? So I obviously have some pelvic tilt to this way, and what the tea towel's done is it's balanced it up through there. Now, another way we can improve this a little further, if we want to spend a little money, is, I'll turn the chair around so you can see. I'll get rid of this. We can actually use a wedge for this. Now, the wedge does the same thing. So if I put it at the back here, what it does, it lifts me up, it drops my knees below my hips and keeps a little bit of that lordosis. So when you get the lordosis, it keeps the upper body more back, right? And obviously you can still sit back in the chair, that's fine. Just want to make sure if you do get one of these that it's quite thin, all right? So you can get that from the ABCA website if you're interested, different thicknesses. If you're using it in the car, you need a thicker one though. Now, the beauty of this is if I put it on the chair here, if I rotate it to this direction, what I've done by twisting it like that, I've made it a little bit higher on the right than the left. So that's going to balance any lateral pelvic tilt that I might have. And for me, oh, that's a bit much. I feel like I'm leaning, so I'm going to move it back a little. Yeah, okay, so that feels comfortable for me. So you can play with that. Some people might have it better straight. Some people will tip it one way or the other. You just find what works for you, and that's what you stick with. Okay, and some other basics with sitting. So if you are sitting at a computer, we obviously want to pull ourselves close into the table, and ideally we want our elbows at 90 degrees with the keyboard not too far away. If we're reaching forwards, that's obviously going to encourage a forward head, forward shoulders posture, and we're going to lose our lordosis in our back here. We don't want that. We want our monitor ideally looking straight ahead or a little bit down is okay. And by the way, if you are sitting for long periods of time, it's good to have breaks. Okay, so sitting for a long period in any position is going to cause problems. The sit-stand desks, I do like those, but there's been new research out now that's shown that prolonged standing is actually worse than prolonged sitting. So the recommendation for that is, now I know you can't stick with this on a work day when you're busy, but it gives you an idea. 20 minutes sitting, 8 minutes standing, and 2 minutes moving, right, to give you guys an idea of what's good for you. So that's how to sit correctly in a chair. It's very simple. You don't need to buy anything. Give it a try. Let me know how you go. And before I go, we have some very exciting news. We have finally finished our myofascial mastery course. So if you're interested in learning to treat your own body at home using fairly simple methods, you use rollers and balls and things like that to release the tight areas of fascia, check out the link in the description or the email that you're looking at. If you're wondering, what is fascia? Well, fascia, if we think of it like this, think about clothing, and let's say it's 5 sizes too small. So it's really tight, but it's made of chainmail because fascia is almost as strong as steel by weight. So what happens with our fascia, it goes around the muscle, it goes around each muscle fiber and around each muscle fiber, so it goes right through the muscle. And it's also in different areas of our body as well. And fascia actually runs in chains or lines through the body. Muscle and fascia runs in chains and lines. And so if you have a tightness along one of these lines somewhere, it can cause problems up or down that chain. Fascial problems can make you feel very stiff and inflexible. It can make you feel tired. It can mean you can't get things done. You know, if you feel like you're getting older and tighter, this is the best way to release it. In my opinion, it's much, much more effective than stretching. It's good for reducing pain. And the beauty of it is you can do it at home. So this course, it has over 40 videos. It shows you how to do each muscle, gives you the theory of the muscle and where it is and how to do it. And then we have a demonstration for how to do each spot. And we try and give you clues about which areas to do for what kind of issues and what's safe and what's not safe to do, obviously. So if you're interested in that, have a look at the link in the description. There'll be a special when we first release, so please check that, and good luck.